What's up, cyberspace cadets? It's Irate Prostate here with Irate Mondays with Chaos 120. The current Chaos 120 member that is currently hanging with me right now is our brother Scooby 331, my bad.
All good. Hey, everybody.
That's the voice 331. Oh man, did you have a good weekend, man?
Pretty good. I mean, we had a lot of shitty weather and knocked out my internet for a little while. After a storm, you got to go out and clean up after everything. It was a bit of a pain in the ass, but it could have been worse. It was nothing too severe.
Well, cool. Yeah, it was just.
How about you? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was laid back. Really, did a lot of sleeping. I mean, I don't know. My body must have been needing me to sleep because yesterday it was really. I did this really difficult interview. And it's really a good interview. It's really in depth, but it was just really tough because he was giving me a lot of short one-word answers and stuff, and then we started talking, and the guy has he's got some health problems and stuff, and it's kind of bleak, and so it drained a lot out of me emotionally, but I'm very proud of it. So it's an interview with Ichabod Orange is the name he goes by. He's a really cool guy. He was having a really bad day yesterday, and I think he's in late stage 2 of lung cancer. I'm very proud of the interview. It was a tough one to soldier through. But yeah, and then I slept all fucking day today, man. I woke up, it was like 1:30. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? So.
Sometimes you have to get caught up on your rest. It does happen.
Oh, no shit, man. No shit. I feel like I'm getting older and older. Hey, I want to say everybody out there, I see, what's up, cyberspace? I see it looks like we got some people rolling in here. Ace of Skulls, what's up, man? Sir Wolfie, hey, man. Yes, I do miss you. William Stenchover, hello. Johnny Hellcat, what's up, man? Psycho Fire, smoking a joint. You don't need to know the response to that. All right. And Fuckwad, my man, what's up, y'all? All right, we got 13 folks watching. Let's hang out and talk a little bit about looking at. We were talking earlier. It's like I haven't really been focused on the news a lot this past weekend because I've been kind of powering through this other thing I've been doing. I've got to to do this thing for Thursday, reviewing this true crime thing, and I thought it was 10 episodes, so I stopped it last night at episode 8, and then I found out, like, when I woke up, it was 13 episodes. So anyway, it's I'll talk about it on Thursday. I'll just say that. How about that? Let's see.
I haven't actually gotten a chance to watch any of these new shows that are on Netflix. I've been really busy myself.
Yeah, it's hard to do, man. Especially with the series, in a kind of a week's period of time. Usually, when we choose something like that, we try to do it, at least a couple weeks ahead. But it's, I forget half the shit I've seen anyway. So, it's best to see it, I guess, as close as we can. But that's, yeah, I'm looking at the news. A lot of interesting stuff. What were you talking about earlier? About
at the New York Daily News?
Yeah, or the one before it. Was let's go with the Daily News. What were you talking about from that?
half of their staff. They completely downsized.
So
they let go of some people they've had there for like 30, 40 years. They had to get rid of them.
Jesus.
They couldn't afford them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess the angry tweets about Donald Trump will quadruple in the next week. And it ain't his fault, y'all. You know, it's I think it's going from print media into this electronic media is a very difficult thing to figure out how to, it's a weird animal to tackle, right? Because there's so many answers to the riddle here, and I think that going with the YouTube kind of a thing that, I think you have to do everything. You have to go blogs, you have to go tweets, you have to go the whole 9 yards if you really want to be good at it. And cover the basics. There's some of the more frivolous shit, you leave maybe to, smaller numbers of people, and kind of focus more on, I don't know, like, national news or go backwards and focus really on just really local shit. And if you want to stay in print, that's the way to do it, is just stay completely local, within, just a neighborhood or two, I don't know.
One thing you have to realize, as someone who's worked in the industry for years, as someone who worked in both print journalist and I also worked in radio for years as broadcaster. Series of floundering is exactly like the reason you just pointed out, but the other half of the other side of the coin is they're assholes. I mean, their personalities are horrible. They're horrendous people. You wouldn't want to, be in the same room with them.
Right.
Yeah. Some of these folks who were already, they call them alt media, but they're journalists of the same caliber as myself. In other words, they were actually part of the establishment, but on the fringes. When you look at people like Gavin McInnes, Lawrence Southern, James Alsop, these are people that were already they were up-and-comers in the journalistic fields when the shit hit the fan 2-3 years ago.
Right.
When they labeled themselves as alt media. They were already involved in that sort of an industry. If you haven't noticed about their personalities, the one thing you can say across the board about all of them is they're very stiff people. People that they have to have a few drinks to loosen up and have a good time. That's when they always show them out having, when they're all out together, they're all drinking. These are people that can't actually be in the same room around each other when they're sober, when they're not working, because their personalities, it's just that they're too obnoxious and overbearing. I say this as somebody who's top New York journalists. The personalities are very, very severe, and that's the thing is, you can see that's part of, it's come out a lot with Trump over the past year or so. Personalities are. It's just unbelievable in the press conferences. Jim Acosta is not an anomaly, is a long story short way to put it. That's a very common behavior that these people have when the cameras are off. He just does it on camera. Right.
And he's got that kind of swag, I guess, where he can afford to kind of flap his dick on the table every once in a while. I see what you're saying, and and I don't.
The music industry yourself, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you get people who, when they get mad, they're like, I don't know who you think you're talking to. I'm so and so. I did this. And I did that.
Do you know who you're talking to? I mean, do you really know who you're talking to? That kind of, I got you.
Same exact people in this industry, and that's part of why it's floundering, because you got all these new kids who've been coming up in the past 2 years who are not affiliated with anybody, who are doing it themselves, and they don't have the same chops as these quote unquote true journalists. So they're not dickbags. They're actually, you can talk to these kids. Like they're not pushy, they're not arrogant, they're not rude, and that's the reason that the mainstream media is getting baffoed left and right. That's the reason the Daily News has to start shuttering its doors, is because they don't understand it's not the medium, it's you. No one wants to talk to you people anymore. No one wants to be interviewed by you people anymore, because you don't interview half the time. The thing with Wolf Blitzer and Ron Paul the other day was the perfect example of that.
Right. What happened? See, I don't know what you're talking about.
It was supposed to be an interview, and Wolf Blitzer decided he was going to lecture the senator.
Ah, it was another one of those. So.
Oh, type into YouTube, type into the search bar, Wolf Blitzer, Ron Paul, and watch how many videos come up. You're probably going to get at least 18 videos right off the bat.
Right.
People have been having a ball with this. Ron Paul, is that the kid or is it Rand Paul? I mixed them up.
Rand is the kid. Ron is the dad. That'd be Rand then.
And he's sitting there talking to Rand Paul, and Rand Paul yells at him. He's like, Wolf, this is supposed to be an interview. You're supposed to let me answer.
Oh, so he's like gish galloping, just like keeps throwing him stuff, and won't give him the time to answer any of the questions. See, I need to check that out, man, because yeah, I've been following Rand Paul, because I was a big fan of his dad. I voted Libertarian, and I'm not ashamed of this. A long time ago, I've kind of voted, for just about every candidate that I thought was the right candidate for that time. And so that means I voted Republican. I voted Democrat several times. I've voted Libertarian quite a bit. I voted Independent. I've done a couple of write-ins. So it's not like I like to hang with one party, but it's just like it's just like which turd smells the best. It's kind of like that game.
Exactly what you mean.
It's like so it's just hope close your eyes and pull the lever and pray. That you don't fuck shit up too much, man. But up until this past cycle, this was probably the first time I probably went completely Republican across the board. And I usually chide people that do that, but the Republicans actually around here in the past year, I think it was maybe the 2016 election, they actually had people of substance that they put up. The Republicans around here, because look, New York has been bought and paid for blue since right out the gate. It's a known fact. We're the home of Tammany Hall. We were the piggy bank for the Ku Klux Klan. Everyone knows that. Fernando Wood actually had Manhattan secede from the Union. He called it the Empire City of the Confederacy. He was also the guy who coined the name Lord Abraham Africanus I for Abraham Lincoln. And Fernando Wood was a real scumbag. See, he was actually his part was played in the biopic Lincoln by Lee Pace. Oh wow, okay, he's a great actor. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to pass judgment, but you look at Lee Pace. I really doubt that man is straight. Not to segue too far off of it, but I even showed it to my wife, and my wife's like, she does that thing where she like tilts her head and like shrugs her shoulders, like, well, I go, yeah, good looking song and dance man, 6'5", yeah.
Yeah, he's a huge dude. You're right. Yeah. Well, he was in this series that was called *Halt and Catch Fire*, and it was literally about the birth of the PC computer, the home computer industry, and how it went from the PC to what what's now Google. Like 'cause at the end of the series, it's they're more looking at building around a multi-conglomerate with a search engine, that kind of thing. So I mean they're talking about Google, right? And he plays one of the main characters in it, and he and that character goes through a scare where he thought he had AIDS, and it wasn't from he was definitely at least bi, I don't know. So but then again, he's an actor, so I can't say that that's verification of that kind of thing.
No, he's from Oklahoma.
I did not know that.
I would have thought British because of how well he enunciates, but no, born
Yeah.
and raised in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, then, hey, man, you never know. You never know. But Uzi Q is giving me some direction. She's my director, and I have dialed the music back just a little bit. All right, and
They must hear music then, because I don't hear anything.
all right. So all right. So we were talking about you were talking about how Manhattan had kind of done its own kind of little succession financially, and were, you know, one of the main financiers behind the war. You know, it's interesting because I was listening to a couple of guys are doing this like lengthy on every Sunday. As I think one of the guys' name is Mad Dodge. His avatar is he's like a guy tipping his top hat. I'll look them up after the show and definitely to clue you in. But they've been breaking down what the Southerners refer to as the War of Northern Aggression, right? and they get into big arguments as to, you know, like yesterday they were arguing about Virginia as a whole, right? It showed, you know, county by county how they voted for secession, right? And what pretty much makes up what we call West Virginia now had voted to stay with the Union. So it was, you know, it made sense to me that they would have stuck, you know, and you know the rest of the state had gone on. But they were talking about, well, what if Virginia had stayed with the Union? That meant that Lee and I can't remember that they cited another general would have stayed, whereas Jackson I think was you know, South Carolina, and I would have posited that Jackson had a better shot at winning the war than Lee did. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But so that was you know, and I think people forget about, you know, the money that was coming in, you know, from the back end of you know, of North, because there were plenty of Northerners that were making a lot of money off of things being like they were, and you know, and a lot of people, you know, from the North don't want to, you know, talk about that, you know. It's what is it? What's the old
talking about things like that? Because one of the things I blame. Well, the Civil War, I laid that firmly at the feet of the Democrats. I have no problem saying that because the history bears it out. If you look, the reason that I'm not, again, this isn't because I'm a New Yorker. I am not taking any shots at the South. But part of the reason the South was able to conduct the war that it was able to do was because they had much better commanders. And let's be completely honest about it. Little Mac, George McClellan, specifically was trying to undermine the Union war effort because he was a Democrat. He was pro-Confederacy. He was trying to actually run against Lincoln in the election. That's the reason he was trying to undermine him. That man slaughtered tens of thousands of young men just to satisfy his own ego and his own political aspirations. I really can't, at this point in my life, I don't think I could ever back a Democrat again in just good conscience. Backing the Klan, the same as backing the Black Panther Party, the same as backing Black Lives Matter, the same as backing Antifa, backing by all means necessary. I mean, come on.
So but you're talking, yeah. So what you're saying is it's the party that backs subversion.
Exactly, the party of the opposition. That's even what they call themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So because that's the one thing that all these groups of people have, that one thing in common is that they want to see the government of the United States under the Constitution that has held us together for, you know, what, 250 years now, 260 years. I like him. What was it?
It'll be 250, I believe. How old am I? I'm trying to do the math in my head here. I think in something like 8 years we'll hit the 250 mark.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, and that's just not good enough, and I don't understand that. You know, why the need to overthrow things? You know, it's the best thing that there's no alternative government on a scale this large that's lasted over 100 years, right? You look at Soviet Russia. Soviet Russia didn't even last 90 years. I think it topped out at 78, something like that. And I'm talking about the combined Soviet Russia. Now, if you talk about the pre, you know, the pre and revolutionary era, then you're more looking at like 90 years. But they still don't cross the century mark, not even with the revolution. But you know, yeah. So, yeah, everybody hit that like button. It's free, you know. And I'm not.
You know, one of the things that you're gonna see going on in two is, I'm gonna guess at, because of the way I've seen everything with these people, if they lose out on the Democratic midterms, like if they wind up, which they keep saying there's not going to be a blue wave now. At this point, I'm skeptical because, you know, who knows at this point with the Democrats? They might have their blue wave. It might just be at this point now, it's just almost all fake votes, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm very concerned that you're going to see shit getting even more out of hand. When what if they actually do crack down on the voter registration laws and the voter ID, and they actually make it where the votes have to be legit votes? These people are going to lose a lot of power. And my concern is, they said something the other day. They had that girl from over by my way in Queens,
Right.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Mm-hmm.
They had her, and they had that fucking troglodyte chimpanzee Bernie Sanders with her, and some other pinko. I'm standing there, and she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna flip this seat red in November."
Red. They don't get it.
Yeah, think about it now.
Yeah. I totally get it, because red is always represented the Republican Party, and blue is represented the you know, the liberals, and of course, you know, being the communist that she is, she is always going with the color red. You know, that's funny as shit.
When she said it, in fact, you should have seen how big Bernie's grin got when she said it. At this point, like, now they're ready to be open about it.
Yeah, no shit, man. It's like, oh, now here it comes, right? And you know, I wouldn't mind if the, you know, Republicans, they want to go purple. I'm down with that shit. Fuck it, you know. Let's get the commies out there and be real, man. Shit. Yeah.
The thing is, I was raised, you have to kill a communist with extreme prejudice when you lay eyes on it. So I don't exactly jive with these people.
Fucking straight.
Better dead than red is what I always heard as a child. See, you know, it's like
well, better dead than red, but I was taught, you know, if you see that it's red, you got to bash in its head.
That's right. God.
Oh yeah. I actually like I was just, you know, when I was a kid, it was because it was, you know, like during the Reagan era, our scoutmasters actually were able to get their hands on authentic USSR flags, and that's what we used to shoot at for our rifleman's badge.
Oh, really?
Fucking
actually, they were actually, because my two scoutmasters, one was he was in the tail end of Korea, and then he was in the beginning of Vietnam, and the other guy was in for the entire run of Vietnam. So these guys still had some pull, and these were actual flags off of troop transports in Afghanistan.
Fuck yeah, yeah.
we were actually shooting authentic commie flags.
That's
Dude,
awesome.
That's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, they would have they'd have the rally, for the scouts. This was we would usually meet up with the Teddy Roosevelt Council. That's up over in and they would have this big rally up over at Eisenhower Park. And I remember this. I think it was like 1987 or 88, right? You know, like when Glasnost was in full swing and Reagan was really hammering Gorbachev.
Right.
The flags that we had shot, after they got too severe to use them for targets, they actually had them as the mats that you'd wipe your feet on when you went in and out of the porta-johns.
Oh, dude, that's so fucking cool, man.
It was Boy Scouts, don't forget. Yeah, they taught us very early. You know, I mean, Christ, I remember the Scoutmasters teaching us. You know, if you run into a communist, like they were teaching us because we live on the island, basically. If these things come up off the beach,
these things, no shit, man.
They were teaching us like things like, you know, if these communists come up off of the beach, you know, wake up your father and get the rifle, basically, was what they were telling us. Like,
right.
Shoot the motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know, they're communists.
Well, you know, that's funny because, God, I think there's a movie where that happens in a small town where, like, no, this is like a comedy thing. It's funny as shit, though, where, like, the Soviet sub, like, gets into a river tributary and they end up in this small town. And they're stuck and they can't get out, right? And so anyway,
the kid befriends the one Russian sailor because they're reading comic books together.
Yeah, or something like that. And it's just and then the whole town flips out, you know. And I'll look it up. It's one of those, you know, Cold War crazy movies, or maybe that's the. There's also a movie called Cold Turkey where an entire town. Like a small town America, quit smoking cigarettes for 30 days. And
that was a good movie.
Oh, it is the funniest fucking thing, man. Yeah, I'll try to look both of those up because, well, there's another, you know, Better Dead Than Red, you know, kind of thing going on there because they think at some point they flip out and this two people are thinking it's a communist plot to get them off of tobacco and shit. It's great.
Oh, it's hysterical. Well, yeah, like half the country's gonna quit out of sympathy for those motherfuckers. We need that town smoking now.
That's great.
When I was a kid, how bad it was with the communists. Like, I remember a few times when I was like going out to clubs and everything when I was a teenager, and this is like right after the wall fell, and you had a lot of people coming here who were from like that part of Europe. And holy shit, I remember one time in Manhattan, I want to say Webster Hall. I watched these two Polish guys beat the bejesus out of these three communists.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Well, see, and even after the wall fell and you know, the Soviet Union collapsed and shit, you know, there was that, I guess, what were these people called? Generation X, technically, is the term for those guys, you know, that grew up in that era.
Teenagers in the 80s.
Yeah, 80s and in the 90s, right? And you know, even they were like, you know, it's like, you know, communism it doesn't work. It's obvious. Look at the Soviet Union, man. You know, and all the problems that were going on because of the breakup of the Soviet Union. You know, people were saying, well, you know, all the shit in the Balkans, all that stuff was because, you know, because communism held them together, and no, it didn't. What it did was, you know, they were held together at gunpoint, and you know, and their you know, their materials, you know, their goods were used to help prop up the Soviet Union, right? And once all those countries became independent, you know, like the Lithuanians and the fucking Ukrainians, you know, they were like, thank you, Jesus, you know, and the Polish, man, you know.
Oh, yeah, the Ukrainian and Polish were really fucking happy to be out from under the Soviet Union, man.
No shit. I mean, because, you know, you look at their country's been the fucking, you know, doormat, you know, to war from either side, for what, almost 100 years, go back
that's why the Polish now are revolting against the EU, because like, nah, we've been through this before, motherfucker.
No way. Exactly. They're saying fuck you, and they're challenging them, and you know what, the EU is backing down. They can't make them accept these people. And I'm pulling for Poland, man.
Hey, out of everything though, with the communism, I think the worst that we've seen probably in our lifetimes. Even I'm talking, we had Mao and we had everything else, but I mean,
yeah, no shit.
That I myself have personally lived to see, just because it was. I think it's because of how small it was. A lot of people don't realize how bad it was. Holy shit! Under Tito.
Say that again. What you just said. Yugoslavia under Tito, right?
Yeah. Holy shit! He was a fucking madman. He gets overlooked a lot, and another one that gets overlooked under that time frame because he was after the fall, Slobodan Milosevic.
Oh yeah, and even before that though, the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia.
Yeah, Pol Pot.
Yeah, Pol Pot was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's where we get the name Killing Fields from. Yeah.
Yeah, there's literally there's still shit they haven't found, and
yeah, and all these kids my age think it's such a great fucking utopian idea, and it's like, no, dumbass, it's a fucking nightmare.
Right. The only way that you can make it work is by, is at gunpoint, and you got to kill a lot of people, and it's not even working then, because you've got all this. What word am I looking for? All this.
Communism is a logistic and civil nightmare, because logistically you have lines for everything, and there's no direct market anyone can go to who's outside of the party to get fucking anything. And it's a civil nightmare because it's a completely centralized everything, so everything's held at gunpoint. And if that's not bad enough, it's the simple fact that you literally have to get authorization for fucking everything from an authority figure. Like, if people think permits and shit for things are bad, under communism, that shit's at least tenfold.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's why I fucking hate the shit out of it, man.
Joke about it here, but I was arguing. Purposeful Discussion had this kid on his channel. The kid's name is actually Tito. He's a Titoist. He believes in that Yugoslavian model.
Ah, that's funny.
Yeah, and
which kid is this, man?
Kid goes under the handle of Tito. He's some communist. I only streamed him the one time.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those people, when you start talking, you start making sense, he goes, shut up! Like Napoleon Dynamite, so he's a moron. Russian tried to keep it calm. This kid pissed me off, and I laced into him. I laced into him with both fucking barrels. The thing of it was, he started, laughing, oh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Because I said New York is socialist. He's like, oh, New York is not socialist. I go, really, asshole? Yeah, that's right, it's not. Nope, it's not. I go, okay. I said, so when they take 45% of your paycheck, I said, and they provide you every service and amenity you could want, I said, but it's the bare bones one. I said, it's, just the bare minimum, but it's provided for by the state. I said, what would you call that?
What was his answer?
Huh?
Yeah.
Nothing he could say to that, because it's the truth. That's socialism. New York runs on a socialist model. I described this model to Irv, I described it to Mentistry, and I described it to, I think, one or two other people who were Canadian. They said that's the Canadian model. I said, yeah, I know that. New York is we're very open about it. We adopted the Canadian model years ago.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, because of proximity and shit, and the love affair with the liberalism and shit, that it just doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It's not that far out there of an idea that they would go that way, in my opinion. I mean, you know, it makes sense. Because, you know, it's like, see, man, and that's the whole fucking deal, man, is when you make politics a moral thing instead of just a fucking logical thing, you can.
That causes so many problems.
Well, yeah, we call it moral fagging, because it's like, you know, I've got the moral high ground because reasons, right?
That's
go ahead.
Yeah, that's so I've never liked Sargon in a lot of them. It's like, yeah, moral authority, but it's still bullshit.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking get shit done. Exactly, man. Okay, all right, so all right, you're morally ahead of everybody. So what have you done for this country? You know, what have you done today? What has Congress passed? You know, what major fucking legislation has Congress passed since fucking, I don't know, since maybe the ACA, also known as Obamacare, right?
Yeah,
I've done shit.
Right, and when's the last time they did something in unison as teamwork, right? You'd have to.
I can't think of it,
That's
honestly.
exactly my whole point against all of this radical left-wing bullshit.
Clinton was
And it
president.
Yes, all this shit doesn't get anything done. Everyone wants to sit on their ass and act like they're doing something. And then what winds up happening is just taxes go up, cost of living goes up, and social cohesion goes way the fuck down. And then they act like it's a great success. No, fuckers, it's a terrible fucking everything. It's not a success, it's a failure.
It pisses
Terrible
people
failure.
off, right? That was there's this discontent. That was the word I was looking for earlier. That is bred within the populace. You know, this feeling of discontent, and it's because, you know, what was it? Who was it said that that socialism would make sure that everybody was equally miserable?
Irving?
There's a famous person that basically said that, though. It's probably Churchill or, you know, somebody like that, you know, but it's like, yeah, that's the one thing that socialism does, is that, you know, makes everything equally miserable for everybody. And it's like, well, you know, I'd rather be a poor motherfucker, you know, living on disability, you know, barely making it from month to month, than, you know, having everybody that in my apartment complex living the exact same way. You know, that would be horrible. So, and
Well, you should do what I do. I'm extremely cruel. You saw how I was talking to this one guy who was a Bernie bro when we were at the rally. I was in no mood, and I just completely crushed this guy towards the end of it, that Polish kid who was talking to us about socialism.
Mm-hmm.
I basically told him, anyone who wants socialism is a mediocre asshole. They're never going to amount to anything, so they want everyone to be mediocre like them too. I can accomplish shit. I am someone who can achieve things, so I do not like socialism. I'm a capitalist. I have brains in my head that will put money in my pocket and put food on my table. Give a fuck less about socialism. Oh, we want equality of outcome. Yeah, it's called a death certificate. There you go.
I want to welcome to, I want to say hey to Captain Sum-Ting Wong out there, talking about the 1965 Immigration Act, bipartisan. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I just went to his site. I just had to join it, man. It looks great. G Money in the Bank, I want to say hey. Remember, y'all, hit the like button, please. It's free.
Give us a share. We're talking about better days, hoping we can bring it back because fuck all this insanity.
Well, you know, and right, and this all started because the New York Daily News just jettisoned half of its workforce. They have.
Well, they weren't radical enough. They had to get more radicals.
Apparently,
they're losing staff, man.
Yeah, they're jettisoning half of their staff, and that includes that's everybody top to bottom. I hope. You know, usually these things though have a funny way of like the top has a funny way of staying, you know, cohesed. You know what I'm saying? And you know,
they actually, what they did, they got rid of some of their top brass because they can't afford to pay them.
Right, and that's the way you should do it, man. You should start at the top, you know, and I guarantee you won't have to fire as many people if you know.
Yeah.
And you know, you look at the CEO and say, look, hey, you want to make 50% of what you're making, or do you want to look for a job, you know? But they, you know, they're all got those fucking golden parachute motherfucking things and shit.
Yeah, they looked pissed off when they left, and you know what? I can't say I blame them. You know, that's you got to understand it. If you're a newspaper man, especially in Manhattan, your cubicle is like your whole world. It's really weird. These are people that actually like where they work and like going into their office every day. It's the only office job where people actually thrive in that sort of an environment. A newsroom is like it's like an entity unto itself, especially if you're in the bullpen. I do feel for these guys as a journalist himself who had to leave an office many years ago. It's one of those things you don't like to do, and I do feel for them. But it's that small little smidge of camaraderie just on that one level, because that's where the fact that we're both New Yorkers, we're both newsmen, that's where it starts and that's where it stops, because they're a pack of propaganding pieces of shit, and I got no sympathy for them other than that.
Right, because we were talking earlier about how it's like the whole do you know who the fuck I am kind of attitude that they've got to each other, you know, and to anybody that challenges them on, you know, on the way they're doing shit. And you know, it's going to be interesting to see. I don't know. I've got a sneaky suspicion we're going to see a lot more left-oriented, George Soros-funded.
Oh yeah, that shit's still going to be going on.
What I'm saying like right before this fucking, you know, midterm. You know, you got like a half of a newspaper worth of people in New York looking for a job. You know, I mean, shit, half of them, or probably a larger number than half of them are left-leaning anyway, you know. So it's like, I smell a bunch of propaganda sites opening up. So keep your eyes open.
To them. Yeah, what'll happen to them is that will be the same exact thing that'll happen to Ed Lowe. Booted out of Newsday for his political leanings because he wouldn't write left. Ed Lowe came out to my neighborhood. He came out to like the town of Babylon, and like now you can't pick up a paper in Babylon, Lindenhurst, Copiague, Amityville, even parts of like Massapequa. He like cornered the market. He does writing for them now. He's like the main columnist for all these different papers.
Nice.
I went into the South Bay and I told him, I said, yeah, listen, I got something I wanted to submit about the bar that got burned down. Sorry, Ed Lowe has it on lock already. He was there, and he wrote everything already. Problem, like, whenever these guys get kicked out from a big paper, all the local papers in their neighborhoods. So each one of these dickheads who just got fired, every small town paper within a 5-mile radius of their house is going to get like bombarded with like columns from them every day, because that's how they're going to pay their bills.
Right.
That's how they're going to make their ends meet.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that's what happens whenever somebody gets fired from someplace. It affects the local media where they live.
That sucks.
Yeah, you tell them.
They literally bring their work home with them and make everybody else suffer for it, huh?
You're roboting, sir.
Point is actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Like, what it did now in my neighborhood, it's basically within 5 miles of my house in each direction. The only opinion you can get in print is Ed Lowe's opinion. Annoying. Unless you want to, like, you know, pick up an actual. Unless you want to pick up one of the big four, which is Newsday, the Post, the Times, or the News. Maybe you pick up. He's basically the main contributor. If you go into other towns and they have their local papers, like, it's the same thing, because whenever they lay these people off, it's an irritating fucking problem.
Do you think he's got it farmed out to, like, guys like, you know, like you maybe, in, you know, getting a neighborhood vibe off of people, and sometimes...
No, I've tried that.
Yeah.
I've looked into it. He doesn't use ghostwriters, because I've tried that too. I've ghostwritten, actually. That's how I've kept myself, you know, fed the past 10 years, is I've done a lot of ghostwriting.
Right. Well,
that's what.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I used to, like in the late '90s, early 2000s, I did a lot of ghostwriting on WitchFox, because back then anthropologists were still looking at they were looking at a lot of it as new wave mumbo jumbo and horse shit. You know, they were scoffing at it. This is 20 years ago. This is before a lot of, like, new discoveries were made, like different cultural things. And the thing I was looking at was still considered bunk. So, because I was eventually possibly going to maybe try to get into anthropology. Problem is, it doesn't pay. That's why I never bothered. You know, 20 years ago, I didn't know that. Write under pseudonyms. I do a lot of ghostwriting. And the same thing, as I got a little bit older, right around when, I think it was 10 years ago, Dungeons & Dragons was doing its 30th anniversary, and they had this contest for Eberron. They had a cap on how many submissions you could do. So I started using sock accounts, and I started giving submissions to Paizo and to... I think it was before they were even Paizo. I think they were still, back then, Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine. I had all these sock accounts, and I started giving submissions to them, and some of them, you know, like, I get paid for, and... So...
Nice.
I made more... well, not really nice, because none of it can be attributed to me.
Oh, that sucks, then.
Yeah, I mean... I got money for it. I mean, I could always say, oh, wow, look at this article. This is something I ghost wrote a few years ago. Well, can you prove it? Yeah, I mean, I could look to see if I still have access to that email, but you know what I'm saying? That's kind of like how it would break down, so.
Yeah.
I paid the bills.
Sounds like a royal pain in the ass.
Sorry, guys. I got a little bit.
Oh. Something wrong. It's cool. Rich Art here. He actually does all of our fan art for Chaos. So when he came in and said "stuff fuckers," he's friendly with us. He's not being a troll. He's cool.
Yeah. Wait, the real trolls will make themselves known. As a matter of fact, I got to say hey to Doc Griffin. He's kind of like my. I don't know, kind of my mentor, in a way, without even saying anything to me directly. I'm learning interview techniques from him. So...
Deleted his messages and timed them out.
I just fucked up. Alright, well, I just made... God damn it.
Singing his praises and then you throw him off the street.
Yeah, no.
This is my buddy. Get the hell out of here for 800 seconds.
Oh, fuck. That's horrible. Sorry, dude. I'm retarded. Oh. Yeah.
No!
Yeah, let me make sure I didn't boot him forever. Okay. He's good.
Oh, man. Oh,
Yep.
I got something that I wanted to mention to you, actually. You might be interested in this. And this is something you might be interested in too, Burnside.
Ooh, do tell before I get into work.
It'll work. You're pretty good with computers, the two of you. You know that Vermont will pay you 10 grand to relocate to their state if you can do telepresence in your own state.
Telepresence?
In other words, if you got a computer job in Illinois, you can move to Vermont and still keep the job in Illinois and just commute like telepresence, commute through the computer.
Oh, that's wild.
Ah, I get it.
To convince people to move there because I want to turn Vermont red again.
Now that's
Bernie Sanders moved.
Go ahead.
Bernie Sanders got all those rich New Yorkers to move there, and they turned the state blue, and it's turned into a communist dystopia since they moved there. And I want to try to stop getting. I'm trying to convince people like who are bikers from Trump and veterans and that sort of shit. I'm trying to get them all to move to Vermont and chase them the fuck out of the state.
That's not a bad idea. Well, you know.
When I remember about 20 years ago, my sister was telling me, I had just started college at the time. Moving to Vermont, she said, because this is before, you know, the Democrat-Republican thing was as bad of a divide as it is now. All these rich gay couples were moving there from Manhattan. And they were like buying whole communities up left and right, and we should get in on the boom. Whole state, and they, you know, like they're changing it. They're changing the state, which they did. They changed it from a Republican state to the first openly gay state in the Union. They did that in less than 5 years. What I'm thinking of doing is, well, since all these snowboarders and all these bikers for Trump go there anyway, I'm trying to convince people, hey, move to this state. Seriously, find the neighborhoods that they move to and just move there en masse and drive them out.
That kind of, yeah, that kind of, you just run them off, run them out.
You don't even have to do anything. I know these people, these New Yorkers, they're such scumbags, these precocious dicks, that the minute people start showing up on like their Harleys and their monster trucks and their friggin' muscle cars, they'll be standing out on their porch with their lattes like, oh my God, look, it's those hairy people. Oh,
with their cuts. That's right. Bada boom. Man. William Stench ever. Bada bing, bada boom. Out of here. Yeah.
Do you know where that comes from?
No, I swear to God, I've tried to ask so many people about it that are. There's a shitload of Italian people that immigrated to Birmingham, the area where I lived a lot younger, long time ago, and every time I would ask them, I would get a different story. So tell me.
Here, basically what that is, that's actually, it's like one of the things that it shouldn't have really gotten out of the community. A lot of the younger people that didn't speak the old language, when they would hear the old timers, specifically if they were speaking in a southern dialect like Sicilian, like if they were speaking in either like Sikulu or Sikulish, the dialect my father spoke was Sikulish. That's the dialect they speak on Malta.
Right.
And a lot of the language sounds like phonetically bada bing, bada boom, because just of how the words sound.
So you mean you're talking about rhythmically? It's like da 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 ba da da ba da da ba da do ba da da ba da do.
Yes. Like to give you an idea.
Kind of a sing-songy, right?
Right. Like the way my father would say to me, calling me, but he would yell out at the top of his lungs, "Goddamn pain in the ass." Do me a favor. He would say to me, "You goddamn pain in the ass. Do me a favor and stop busting my balls." And how that sounds in Sicilian is, "Gamuria gita biva, number mi cogliones, por favore." Like the language sounds, so just because of, you know, how it comes across when you hear it, like, The goddamn pain in the ass. Gamaria Gitabiv is that one. And then there's, we're calling somebody, let's say, oh God, forgive me, a goddamn whore. It's Manager de Butana. The way that the language comes across, it's like I said, you know, there's a lot of that, you know, bada bing, bada boom. It's just, it's the way the phonetic sounds to the ear. So the kids would actually say that, like making fun of their grandparents. That's what that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The dialect, what it was like it's considered now, like, by a lot of like the newer Italians, it's considered like a peasant dialect. This country, and it specifically was bad under Obama. For people in the South, they were making fun of rednecks, they were making fun of good old boys.
Right.
How they're doing it now, even more so openly, that they don't like any of us, you know, like, because we support the president, even though I'm from Queens originally,
well,
go figure, but...
yeah. Well, remember back when, this is during the Obama administration, when the whole Tea Party thing started, okay? Really, the Tea Party, T stood for TEA, taxed enough already, okay? And that's how it started, right? And of course, then of course the you know, there were more extreme rightists, you know, that were, you know, starting to get up under the tent, you know, blah blah blah, and then of course, you know, it was like, you know, they were focusing more on the southern ones. Like I think one of the groups was from Sylacauga, you know, all the ones that went through judicial watch and were, you know, they were trying to apply for, I think it was, 301, what's that called? Tax status, right? Where they'd be tax exempt because they're not a political, they're not a political, I can't think of the word, like persuasion organization, as much as they are just a group to educate, right? Instead of indoctrinate, I guess would be the difference, right? You know, it's like if you're one, you know, you get exempt. And all that shit, they were just slow, you know, they were just, you know, just dragging it out on them deliberately. You know, they were using the IRS, you know, to pull out, you know, certain Tea Party people, and they were slow walking all the fucking paperwork on them, man. You know, and of course during all this time they were still having to pay taxes, and the money that these guys were trying to pull in, right? And they weren't going to be, you know, giving them out to any of the people running for office or anything. They were just, you know, needing the money to just run, you know, to print, you know, pamphlets and shit like that, you know, just everyday operating costs. And they were having to spend that money on the tax. You know, it's like a large chunk of that had to go to the tax. It's the 501c3. Thank you, G-Money and Chief Lakota.
Right. Well, what I'm saying though is, you remember how like they were doing on things like Saturday Night Live and other things, they were lampooning
absolutely
people who were involved in the Tea Party. Specifically, they were playing up like how Southerners talk.
Right.
Like they'd have a character out there going something like, "Well, I didn't vote for that there, Obama. No, I was a George Bush man myself, and I can't get behind somebody like Obama." You know, they would put somebody out there talking with like that stage accent like that.
Yeah.
What the kids were doing with that bada bing, bada boom thing, that actually was what it was in Italy under Mussolini. He was really like trying to crush all of the different dialects. It's the thing with people like on the left, when they come to power, they decide they want to unify everything.
Right.
Look at Mao,
right,
as an example.
Yeah.
So they were really, especially after the war ended, there was nobody really left speaking that old dialect in Sicily. So it was considered archaic, and it was something that was being like lampooned. So that bada bing, bada boom thing, they're actually making fun of like the Sicilian and Calabrese dialect because of how silly it sounds to their ears. It's almost like how people make fun of this, how Southerners talk down by the Bible Belt.
I see what you're saying. I see. Yeah, that makes perfect sense too. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just that was just a kind of a just kind of I guess it just kind of like rolled out, right? Because that would explain why I got like different answers, you know, from the people in Birmingham, right? Because I think it was probably a different situation for them down here. I think that maybe they would hear it, and you know, probably some of the people would like have cousins and shit that were still up in New York and stuff, you know, so they would hear it occasionally or something like that. But that's that. Go ahead.
Professor Russo, he's actually a professor of phonetics, entomology, and linguistics.
Mm-hmm.
And he specifically specializes in Mediterranean dialects. I had the pleasure of corresponding with him when I was a younger man. And I attended a few of his lectures and read a few of his books. That's the only reason I know this shit. I mean, I actually had to, like, research into it. Because I'd ask my father, and he'd just shrug. He'd be like, I got no idea. You know, just like you said, no one knows this. I actually had to ask academics. Because it's something that was started. But I'm thinking about it. I think I asked my brother. I don't think I ever asked my father. I think when I did ask my father, he would say, they're assholes, don't bother them. Or something to that effect. Like something to that effect. Because my father he wasn't, I don't want to say that he was a grim man, but he was not, he had his moments where the clouds broke and there was sunshine there, but for the most part, he was just grim all the time, so I didn't really converse with him too much about shit of that nature. So, it was unfortunate, because he would have been a real wellspring of knowledge. It was just he was not approachable.
You know, that's funny, man. My old man's kind of like that, too. He's like, you're going to die, you know. He'd start off, sentences like that. That's like, well, gee, Pops, yeah, I don't want to talk about that right now, you know. I kind of wanted to ask you about this and be like, yeah, but, you know, death's going to be a part of it. And so, yeah, man, I kind of, I can identify. He would say he was real. He said he called himself, a realist. You know, got to be realistic, son. It's like, whatever, Dad. Yeah, I got you.
To give you an idea of how I grew up, this will help put a spin on it. My father's family considered my father a liberal because he didn't have a problem with my mother wearing pants.
Instead of a dress? You're right, I got you.
My parents were considered liberals because my father didn't have a problem with my mother wore pants. Fashion, my family was. All of my aunts wore dresses. All of my female cousins on my father's side wore dresses. And female cousins on my mother's side wear dresses too. I think we're the only heathens that wear pants in, like my nuclear family.
Well, I mean, it's like blue jeans and shit, at this point. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's, I don't know, that's about two generations back, where everybody were wearing, dresses. I guess the last time that was a thing was the 70s was, I don't know, shit. You know what I'm saying?
I guess also, to be fair, it's because, the community I lived in, it was, many Americans, everyone here was like, they were either new Americans, like they were born here and their parents were immigrants or their grandparents were immigrants, and other than that, it was just immigrants. So it was a lot different world here.
Mm-hmm.
I have trouble sometimes talking to people on here because they'll start ranting and raving. They're like, well, we should kick out all the anchor babies. And I tell them, my mother's an anchor baby.
See, they don't get that, it's like that up there, man, that it's like there are still people that are, second generation or first generation, you know, Americans that are, you know, still up there, that are Irish, that are, you know, that have, you know, that have white skin, you know, that aren't necessarily, and Italian, you know, people European. Just
you want to see something interesting. You want to see something interesting. You should see the Puerto Ricans when they when they get into it with the people that sneak in here, the illegals. Holy shit!
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they don't like them at all. It's funny. I got this one friend. I'm not going to dox him and give you his name, but he has like one of those names, and like, you know, we'll call him Ortiz.
Okay.
For you know, just for brevity's sake. And Ortiz is sitting there like, these fucking sticks. They're coming here from South America, ruining my goddamn city.
Oh, that's funny.
It's wild when you know, like, when you live up here, because it doesn't matter. Like, it's a whole different spin on the way it's looked at. Like, they won't tell you, like, a lot of these people who bitch, the ones who, you know, well, my family's immigrants, my family this, you know, they're all, you know, you don't like immigrants, and those tend to be the sissy Marys. Actually get up and work for a living. Don't like the illegals because they're coming in stealing our jobs. Like, you know how many friends?
Yeah, man.
I got with names like Gutierrez who do not like the illegals.
Yeah, of course, man. You know, it's because the people that work hard to earn their citizenship, man, they I mean, shit, man. Don't you hate it when anybody cuts corners on anything, man? You know, it's like cutting in line and shit. It pisses people off, you know, because people are working their asses off to try to get their fucking, you know, citizenship, man. It's costing them a shitload of money. They have to renew their visas and shit, you know, and it's just a hell, you know. I don't know if anybody knows Barbara for you to see. But she's from Slovenia, and she's trying to get her American citizenship. She's very fun, very interesting to watch, because she's kind of taken, you know, like every once in a while she'll talk about it, but she's taking people, you know, her fans or whatever you want to say, you know, through that process with her, man. And it's fucking arduous, especially, you know, I didn't think it was going to be that, you know, that difficult, man, but you know, it is. So, you know, I think I would get pissed off too. If, you know, if I'm sitting here busting my ass and I'm following all the rules and shit, and some dipwad just, you know, crosses the fucking river and, you know, and ducks and takes, you know, and gets paid in cash and shit and doesn't pay taxes or nothing and sends half their money back to, you know, to a different country, you know, I think that would piss me off too. You know, I mean, shit. I want to say hi to Gutenberg. Had fun with him Friday night. It was an interesting cream stream. If you want to listen to it, you will be entertained. I promise you that, especially the last hour.
Gutenberg, what's up, my brother? How are you?
That's right. Let's see. Wanted to say hey to Ace of Skulls. Great guy. Shoot. Let's look in. Let's see. I'm going to look at the.
You know what's so weird? Me and Gutenberg got so much shit in common. Me and him were talking about it.
Yeah.
We're both the youngest of 7. And our birthdays are apart by a month. We're the same month.
Oh yeah.
There's little shit like that you find out when you talk to people. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to get him to come down to more. You know, he's in Philly, so he can probably be down there. You know, like it's from Philly to DC. That's not a long burn. I think that's maybe a 2-3 hour trip for him, if that.
Yeah, I don't think it's that long.
No. Honest, man. Ever since we started dabbling in politics in the past year ago, me and Burnside, I've been thinking of just looking into doing it like the old school way, just keeping a small apartment here in New York, down in DC, and just commuting back and forth. Because, you know, apparently right now, because of Trump, hot town.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, man. It's like a lot of shit's going on in there. It's a hotbed for jobs and shit, man. There's all kinds of just yeah. I hear the same thing.
Burnside. Yeah, I keep telling Burnside, give up on the Midwest for right now and come out to the East Coast because you're not going to get in the Midwest. The Midwest right now, I hate saying it because they're going through all that trouble. They need to change their management. And until they get rid of that mayor in his city, he's going to keep, like enduring the same shit. So
absolutely.
Burnside?
Yeah, I'm here. I had to reconnect.
And you really should. Maybe you were supposed to come out here before the end of the summer and check out New York. And you really think about relocating out to the East Coast because right now where you are, it's the infrastructure is dead right now until you guys get, maybe God willing in the next year after the midterms you'll get the shakeup you need. But right now, I don't see it coming.
Yeah, man. Chicago, man.
Yeah, it wasn't in the money, but yeah, we do got to get rid of Rahm.
You gotta get rid of all your politicians. You got, the fuck is his name out there?
Rauner?
There's the Mexican guy.
Which one?
The one that when they was chanting USA, he got up and stormed out of the friggin' shit who backs every illegal company that is like rats.
I think he's
I can't believe you don't know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think I no. Go ahead.
It's like Ricardo
Montalban. You're talking about one of the aldermen.
No, he's like one of your state senators. You don't know about him?
No, I don't pay too much attention to senators because every time they open their mouths, it's just the same bullshit. They never get anything done because they're always bitching at each other. They're like four housewives.
I pay more attention to the senators if I was you. Look at my senators. I got Kristen Gillibrand and Chuck Schumer. Tend to pay attention to my senators very, very, like, very severely. Like I sit there, like I keep them under a microscope.
Yeah,
I'm like one of the.
Go ahead.
People. What, you got his name, Prostate?
Yeah, I'm trying to. Does he have a non-Hispanic name?
I think it's something Gutierrez or oh God, something like that. He's just such a son of a bitch. Guzman, is that it?
I'm seeing names, man. All these like names.
The only one we've got that really gets anything done, and this is depressing, is Dick Durbin.
See,
that's like the only reason that couple keeps getting reelected is because he does get small things done.
Are you talking about state senators, or are you talking about senators from the state in D.C.? Scooby.
He's Burnside's state senator.
So in D.C.
He might be in D.C., but I don't know.
Okay. Well, there's the state house, that's in the state of Illinois, and then there's the guys that go to D.C. So that makes it. I'm looking up. So these names are like. Let's see. Do. You'd think they'd fucking like line up Thorner and O'Neill. See, I mean those names. Let's see. Lisa Madigan. It looks like the way she's. Yeah.
I get his pictures of Obama.
Yeah. Attorney General, his name is Lisa Madigan. Her name keeps popping up. And this dude named.
That's a red. If I remember correctly. To be honest, I've been so busy winging the stick over at Uncle Local Nuts, I haven't even bothered to.
All right. So the Illinois senators are Duckworth, Tammy Duckworth, and Dick Durbin. All right, and then the representatives. Let's see, in the House. I don't give a damn. Okay. House of Representatives. There we go. You got Rush, Kelly, Lipinski, Gutierrez. Okay, Luis Gutierrez. All right. He's one. Let's see, Mike Quigley, Ruscom, Danny Davis. So yeah, I'll look at all the blue or the red, like they were talking the other day. Chakowski, Bradley Schneider, Bill Foster, Mike Boast, Huntgren, Schmikas, Terry Bustos. That's an interesting name. It's got to be Luis Gutierrez, man. I mean, because I think I've seen this dude piss me off a couple of times on Fox.
Luis Vicente Gutierrez. That's it.
Yeah, that's him. All right, yeah. We got he's a congressman. Yeah, exactly. Every time it's like blah blah blah, documented, blah blah blah. It's just he always has a sound bite, and
oh jeez.
Yeah.
Are you in the 4th district, Burnside? Are you in Cook County?
Actually, I think I am actually. Hold on, let me check the map back here. The apartment. Let me check.
Yep.
He's his representative. You didn't even know.
Were we talking about this? About Charmed? Were we on the air when we talked about Charmed reboot?
Brought it up. You led in with that, and we segued to something else.
Okay. All right. I didn't know. I can't remember. I can't remember. I can't remember if we were on the air or not.
Yeah. Notice that this is coming around on the heels of Buffy.
Yeah. Yep. And
I was thinking about.
Yeah, it's a weird day when you fucking agree with Anita Sarkeesian on something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That is a weird day. Now I think about it.
Yeah, I think Stone Thrower, this guy's jurisdiction. Lovely. That woman's always been putting her boot in someone's ass.
There you go. Oh man, I thought
that actually explains a lot of the fucking trouble Sue's been having just getting a fucking budget for shit.
I would never say I'd marginalize anybody, their opinion, but this fucking guy, I'd really like to punch him in the mouth. The thing is this, you're of Puerto Rican descent, you fuck, it's a commonwealth, so even by your ancestry you're American, and you're gonna sit there when they start chanting USA and you're gonna get up and storm out. Somebody should have fucking clotheslined him.
Nice.
Just, I guess, because my family's immigrants, man, and I was raised where the flag is a symbol of hope, and the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of hope. It's where you're supposed to have hope in your future and the future for your children.
Yeah.
And these spoiled rich animals. I don't care what fucking color, creed, or how they. I don't care if they look like a Ken doll or if they look like fucking that old caricature of Jim Crow. If you have a problem with this country, fuck you, no matter what color you are. Seriously.
Right, or either have the balls to fix it, or do something positive with it. It's like nothing's perfect, and everything can be improved. It's just like but don't shit where you eat, people. Just saying.
No. I tell people this all the time in other parts of the country, because one of the things I hear people bitch about a lot is the Jews. When I was a kid, the liberals were forcing Hanukkah in my school. They were forcing the children to learn about Hanukkah. And you know who made them put a stop to it?
The Jews?
The local Jews. They got like maniacs. They came in to like, why are you forcing these children to learn Hanukkah, and why are you teaching them this watered down version?
Exactly.
They're like, they told them, they said, you're taking our culture, you're giving them like this generic version of it, and you're trying to teach them about it. Well, we want them to learn about Hanukkah. Well, that's up to their parents. Where the hell do you get off trying to teach them about it?
Exactly.
And the school had to actually have to stop doing it. And I remember one of the women that was in there. I'll never forget it. I was a young man. I was actually a boy in school. And my mother had me in the office, and she's in there yelling. This big, heavy woman with curly hair. Counter said to her, "Well, you're anti-Semitic." And she looks at her, and her eyes got huge. And she looks at her, and she says, "I'm a Jew, and I'm telling you, take that goddamn menorah down right now. You have no right to sit there and force that on these children. They're not Jewish. How dare you?"
Yeah.
All the time in other parts of the country, it's not the Jews, it's the goddamn liberals. They're the ones that are trying to force all this shit, because the Jews want you to hold their religion with the same respect as everyone else's, and not treat it like a one-off, friggin' novelty item.
Right, and that's one of the main reasons that the Jewish Americans that we have today, that their families came here was because of the freedom of religion. And people don't get that shit, and I don't get. Here's something though that bugs the shit out of me, is the anti-Israeli Jewish Americans. I don't get that shit. But then again, it's like I understand that that people have problems, with the whole Palestine thing. But the truth is
exactly what it is. Well, do you understand the kids with the white guilt?
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Because of how nice they have it at home, they feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a form of white guilt. These Jewish American kids. Well, look at all. From hearing for years that Israel is the cause of all the problems in the world, which, look, let's be completely honest. There's a lot more on earth than the fucking Holy Land. I always had a problem with that argument. Everyone's talking about Israel is the cause of all the problems in the world. Really? So they're the reason that the communists are slaughtering people in China behind.
Exactly, man. You were thinking the same thing I was, because it's like, yeah. Well, so what does that have to do with right? Exactly, with Mao and the Great Leap Forward,
What did the Jews have to do with the guerrillas in Liberia cutting off people's arms after they get their vaccinations?
Yeah.
Again, how is that Israel's fault? And they don't like it. They will bristle when you say shit like that. Well, everything in the Middle East. My response to them is, everything in the Middle East is an area probably about the size of the southwest of the United States that these people are fighting over. Mm-hmm. Planet.
Yep.
If you want to say the Jews are responsible for all of the shit in the Middle East, I'll say that they're the catalyst. I'm not going to put responsibility on their shoulders. It takes two to fucking tango. Let's get that straight. I haven't exactly seen too much footage of Israelis running into Palestinian buildings with shit strapped to their fucking chest saying,
right.
Praise Yahweh. You don't see that shit.
Nope. It's sad, man, isn't it?
It is. It is. You think, nowadays we can take something that's about the size of a piece of fishing line and do heart surgery with it. We're going to strap fucking gelatinized TNT to their torso and go running into a hospital.
If you think about how horrible that is, oh man, it just boggles the mind, because they think it, they see it as, as something was stolen. It's like, God, people. That was their land. People don't understand it. And there was they've had to fight hard to keep it. It's a big problem. It's
Another problem is you have the remnants of, if you remember, they were active in like the 50s into the 70s before they died down. The PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization.
right.
One of the things a lot of people don't realize, there are sects of. Now, when I say sects of the nation, I should specifically say that it's not the Nation of Islam proper. It's not Farrakhan's nation.
Right.
Other of those sorts of Islamic sects that are specifically affiliated with the PLO. People don't realize. Like, now I've mentioned before on air that my grandfather was actually a founding member of the original IRA.
Right.
Since that time, it's actually fractured a little bit. And there is now a faction of the IRA that also is affiliated with the PLO.
Oh, really? Is Sinn Féin?
Yeah.
Is that Sinn Féin or what? What happened?
So,
No.
I believe so.
Okay.
Involved with the Palestinian Liberation Organization. And let me see, it was not just the IRA. There was another people that are involved with. There was the IRA that was involved with them, and somebody else. Like it's just all of these. Oh yeah, the Native American movement. There's now of these tribal reclamation groups. They're also affiliated with the PLO. So this is like this big globalism thing now. This is the reason why you've seen in the past like 2-3 years, all of a sudden you see a lot more of these Native Americans now. Say what was it, Standing Rock? Had all these young people running around in the feather headdresses and shit. Some of them were actually of Native descent. Same thing we've been having a lot now in New York. Like a lot of these Antifa lunatics who keep like trying to chain up the bridges and do the human chains. A lot of them are Native American from the various tribes. They're doing this tribal reclamation thing. And that this is actually the reservations themselves uprising. Don't misunderstand me. These are radicals that some of them might not even be of the reservation themselves. They might just be of this descent and decided they're going to put on the wall page and go out and do this shit.
Yeah. Well, I got a suspicion there's a group of people that are just, getting shipped out to different places, organizing them, and and then saying, let's go raise some hell. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying now this radicalization these are all different sects that are starting to fly Antifa flags, is the thing.
Right.
Now you're starting to see parts of Sinn Féin that are actually flying an Antifa flag. You're starting to see, like, by any means necessary is actually affiliated with them.
Yeah.
I'm actually pointing this all out. There's a good point, a good thing that ties this all together. There was a book written by, I believe it was written by the RZA of the Wu-Tang Clan. It was called the Wu Bible. Finds a large portion of this that has to do with their adoption of PLO tactics and the affiliation with the PLO. One of the songs, I think it was on Method Man's first album, was actually called PLO Style. There's a lot of it that's very anti-Semitic. I mean, if you look, there was, I believe he was from, it was from Public Enemy. It was one of their DJs. I think it was, no, not the DJ. It was their Minister of Propaganda. I believe his name was Mr. Griff. Years. But there was the big thing. He had a hot mic in the 90s going on about how the Jews are wicked people. So this anti-Israeli sentiment is, on the one side, there is the Jewish guilt, but on, attributed to something similar to the white guilt. But on the other hand, for years, a very big growing thing amongst a lot of these left-wing groups that is very, very anti-Israeli.
Right.
Realize it because no one ever noticed it before. Because you hear the Irish talking about solidarity with Palestine. Well, it's a bunch of mix with some pipe bombs. No one cares.
Right.
You hear about a couple of radicals out on the reservation. Okay, it's a couple of kids got into too much firewater. No one cares. But when you start looking at it from you step back like, oh wow, all of these radical groups all over the entire planet are all in solidarity with each other.
Right.
People should be paying attention to.
Right, and you'll note, and then there's the money, the financial connection that's you know, putting them all together. Irving, talk.
You know what? I was just telling Uzi, I feel a little out of my depth here. You boys are on a roll. You know your shit. The only thing I can add is really all I can do is ask you guys: is it true that Palestine is in fact a meme? Like, it was never a nation of its own. It was a region of the Ottoman Empire, but never its own nation. And now,
no, it's never. I don't think it's ever been a nation. To be honest, I don't know. Yeah.
I think the
so it's right up
Palestinians
there with
the
Canada
people.
and Australia. We don't really exist.
You know, I don't know. Look at what happened after World War II when basically. No, it was after World War One. What was that thing that the Rothschilds slid past the Germans with the British? That treaty that got the Americans involved in World War One.
Oh, fuck.
I want to say something like the Derby Treaty or the Devon Treaty, something like that.
Dude, that's that. I don't know. There's certain areas of World War One that I'm like completely, you know, an imbecile when it comes to, you know, some of the minutia of it. You know, I've got a good overview of it. Or you got any?
No, I don't. Like I said, I'm out of my depth here. I just jumped in to say hello and realized, oh my God, you guys are actually having like serious stuff here.
Why? We occasionally do this, you know. It's like we've been talking, and it's kind of organic. Usually, you know, there's kind of some direction to it, but we occasionally will get organic like this and end up in strange places.
I'm happy to stay quiet and learn. I'll ask whatever questions I need clarification. Maybe that can help out anyone who's watching and is unfamiliar with it.
Oh, unfortunately, you're here, Irv, and I have had to bleed the lizard for 40 minutes, so you're going to take the helm with Prostate while I take a leak. I'll be right back.
That's right. And then you're going to switch with Scooby because I need to do the same thing.
No,
be right back.
sure, no problem.
All right, so I'm looking at the background. It says the history of the state of Palestine describes the creation and evolution of the state of Palestine. See, I don't know if I can believe anything on Wikipedia on this shit. You know what I'm saying? Because usually everything that I read on Israel and Palestine and fucking just everything about the Middle East is like it's been contested. It's like you know. There's like 5,000 notes on it, you know, the source and the history of the writing. It's my God,
and
it's ridiculous.
The simple fact that it's crowdsourced, right, can generally be quite a good thing for Wikipedia, except when there's activism involved, because the activists are going to be the one who are more adamantly monitoring and then editing. And so what you're going to see for the most part on Wikipedia is, if there's any controversy, is the activist side. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, here's a question that's on Quora, which I find is a fascinating place. Let's see. Was there ever a country called Palestine that was run and belonged to the Palestinian Arabs? Right? And let's see what the all right, showing a secession. Someone is showing a series of maps, but they're not dated, and
that doesn't sound super helpful.
yeah, it's not. No, there was never a country called Palestine that was run and belonged to Palestinian Arabs. This is a dude named Harvey Cameron who refers to himself as a relapsed publisher, whatever that means.
Sure.
It said in these answers, it is described as a country, but it was never recognized as such. Even the region or territory that it only as a region or territory, it only existed in the past as the British Mandate when it was run by and belonged to the British, and when the Jews were chased out of Israel, it then belonged to and was run by the Romans, who renamed it Palestinia as revenge against the Jews. Maps have been shown in these answers that as if to prove the unprovable, but again, those maps can only be maps of the British Mandate or when under Roman rule. Coins, stamps, banknotes were issued under the British Mandate.
So it never really had its own, it never really was its own nation. It was always a region of some other ruling nation.
Exactly. It's always been some type of contested area.
And I heard this great thing that apparently, according to Islam, according to Muhammad, the land actually has a religion, and they're very much a descendant of the Judeo-Christian religions,
right?
And by that, they have to sort of take the Old Testament mandate that this land is Israel. It's described in the Bible from one place to another, from the here to the sea. I can't remember specifically, but it's in there that God says this is Israel. This is the chosen land for the chosen people. So the Palestinians suggesting that they have any claim to that land are actually going against Islam to do it.
That's an interesting perspective, man. And that's a really, I've never heard that point articulated that well. I like that because I think that's the most accurate way to describe the situation from the way that I've come to understand it. It's a fucking quagmire, man. It's a humongous mess. And then of course the Dome of the Rock doesn't help anything.
No.
Being right where it is. It's interesting though. It's like the country has a religion. So does the country have to face east? Anyway, I don't know which way does it face when it prays.
I love Scooby's point too, right? That you don't see Israelis running into Palestinian buildings strapped with missiles. It just doesn't happen.
Right.
No, it doesn't.
And the from what I'm to understand, the whole anti-Semitic thing kind of came out of early Christianity, right? Because, and I don't know, it was the early Catholic Church. Pretty much Christianity was the Catholic Church for about 1,000 years, right?
Oh yeah.
And it was all over, both the east side and the west side, before the schism. So, and where I'm going with this is that the collection of taxes, all right, for like, say like the monarchs or whatever the landowners, the local landowners were, any taxation that they had on the population, right? The money couldn't legally be collected by Christians, right? And I can't remember why the Catholic Church said that, right? But it was a mandate of the Catholic Church, right? And so it was the Jewish people volunteered to take these jobs because it was a way to to make money. And they would literally go and collect the tax, and the guy would say, it's not enough, go back and get more, whatever, and they would be the one, so after a couple hundred years of this going on, the tax collectors, or the money handlers as they were referred to, we're like, hey, look, these dudes are dicks, nobody likes them. And it's just a whole completely just a once again, I use the term organic, just this situation that evolved out of, the early Catholic Church. Because,
it goes even deeper than that.
Because these people wouldn't convert, right? And it wasn't a deliberate vilification, but it was, I think, a subverted, way to do it. Because of course, go ahead. We called them Christ killers and shit. I don't know about you, but that was, one of those things that we,
which again, that's one of those things where I'm like, yeah, but if it wasn't for Christ being crucified, that would have been like the end of the religion. Like, the guy had to die. That was the whole point. Was he comes here, dies for our sins, and now we can go to heaven, right?
Right.
The thing I was going to say, though, the anti-Semitism goes back a lot further than you think. It just wasn't as naked.
Right.
If you look on the margins of a lot of medieval texts, what you're going to see is usually a knight. He'll usually be mounted on horseback, fully draped in armor, with his shield and his. Usually he'll have his lance, and he'll be fighting a snail. Have you ever seen that artwork? A knight fighting snails?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What that actually is, that's anti-Semitic. The snails are supposed to represent the House of Lombard. The Lombardis were specifically Italian Jews. Those were the merchant class in Venice. That's actually where the country of Lombard got founded from.
The merchant of Venice.
Yes, they were able to acquire so much money that they were able to establish their own country, the country of Lombardy. It lasted, I think, during the Middle Ages, when Italy broke up for a little while there. They were taking shots at the Jewish merchant class by showing the knights fighting snails.
Yeah, it's the Shylock from the Merchant of Venice. That character that Shakespeare, created, as like was a personification of this, right? Would that be correct? Right? Okay.
And I'll even take it one further to you. In New York, that's actually the term that we use for somebody that, for a loan shark, is a Shylock.
A Shylock, right, exactly.
It's a buddy of mine. That's one of, we'll say, well, where's the local Shylock? I got to get a little bit of cash, because the holidays are coming.
Right.
And that's what they're looking for. Hey, Six.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I'll be right back. Sorry, guys. Patches is barking.
We're doing good, man.
So I feel like beef jerky.
Ah. Do you feel like consuming beef jerky, or do you feel like physically like beef jerky?
I physically feel like beef jerky.
That's, what? I don't think that's a bad thing, so I hope that's not what you mean, because it sounds like you feel a little bit dry, a little bit tough, and a whole lot of delicious.
There you go.
I like that.
Seasoned. I feel seasoned. There we go.
Teriyaki. I like it.
I spent a lot of the day in 104-degree heat.
What's that in Canadian? Like 40?
I have no idea. It's something. It's something with a number. It's.
So did you just knock off?
Yeah, I just got back just a little while ago.
Oh, bud.
Exactly 40. That's fucking hot.
So you got to have that. Crank it up, AC. Stand in front of your fridge, get buck-ass naked, and drink beer. That's just my...
Yeah, I don't have any beer right now. So it'll have to be tea.
Drink some iced tea. It's good stuff, too. Burnside, welcome back, bro.
Hey, sorry for being away. I had to connect to the internet so I could actually look into that. In general, I put up as many maps as I could get a hold of. The only one I couldn't get was the police district, but that one I know offhand. The rest of it is a god-awful fucking mess, so it's no wonder I don't know shit.
I got you. So yeah, and
How you doing, Burnside?
and when you left, we were talking about what your district of Illinois that you live in, right? And now we're talking about Palestine. And
Oh, joy.
yes, we exactly. And we've got about 15 minutes left before we have to. I have to wrap up because I've got to be somewhere else. This might be a good idea to like pick up and just like kind of start from you. I don't know. Has anybody talked to Mountain Man? Is he out of town? Is he doing his move this week?
I don't know.
I believe so.
Because that's
Yeah, I haven't heard from him in a while, like the last few days.
yeah. Because I think the last time that he was talking, he had said something about. Did he say he would be out tomorrow?
I'm not sure if he is out. I can cover for him if nobody else can.
We'll figure it out. But this would be a good thing to kind of really focus on and do an in-depth, because the whole Palestine thing is really fascinating, and
It's a big topic.
yeah, and it's a huge fucking mess, and kind of controversial to talk like we've been talking, just a little bit. Because there are going to be people that are going to argue with this, but from what I know, that there was never a country, that was owned and possessed and run, by Arabs. It sounds like it was named Palestinia to piss off. The Jews that had escaped under Roman rule, and I don't know, but that's what the article in Quora, which I would take more under advisement than I would anything in the Wikipedia, because I've tried to make head and tails of that shit in the Wikipedia, man, and it's the most confusing. I mean, and there's so much contestation when you look at, how the article and who wrote them, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah. But this might be a good time to go ahead and start doing a shill-a-thon, because we got lots of people. What do you think?
Sure.
So, how about you? Since you just came in feeling like beef jerky, why don't you tell us about yourself and what you're going to be doing and anything you've got coming up?
Well, this week is kind of interesting. First of all, because tomorrow it looks like I'm going to be interviewing Irate Bear.
Oh, cool.
On the Chaos 120 group channel. So tune in tomorrow at, 4 p.m. GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. I don't know what that is. And it's roughly like 10 a.m., I think. 10 or 11 a.m. Eastern. So it's gonna be in the morning for us here in the States. But if you happen to be up in the morning and you haven't gone to school or work or StarCraft or whatever it is floats your boat, go ahead and tune in. It's going to be a nice little chat, nice little conversation. If you have some time, you can check out the Chaos 120 group channel for all my previous interviews. Irving Twin is among the people that I have had an awesome little conversation with. The last one I did was with Gutenberg, and it ran into extra innings, so it was nearly an hour long.
I'm astounded. I'm down with the Gutenberg.
Yeah.
He's a fun guy.
Yeah, Gutenberg's a good guy.
I just looked up the GMT. All right, and 4 p.m. GMT will also be, that will be straight up noon Eastern. That's 11 Central, and makes that 9 a.m. on that Pacific time. So, yeah.
And if you don't happen to catch it live, it certainly will. It will remain on the Chaos 120 group channel, so you can watch it later at your heart's content.
It's fantastic.
You can watch it as many times as you would like.
That's right.
So another thing, I will be hosting my regular night this week for Chaos 120 on Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. So that's what's going on here. August is looking to be a really, really interesting. I won't throw out any spoilers quite yet, but August is shaping up to be a really exciting interview season. So that's going to be some really cool stuff going on down there in good old August. So that is what's going down with me. Of course, the next 6 minutes, you can find me on the next 6 minutes channel. You must spell out the word 6 if you want to find it, because if you don't, then you won't. I'm also on the next live streams. That's my primary live streaming channel. So if you want to listen to some good old 60, then that's where you go.
Killer. Let's see. Irving, how about you, man?
I'm Irving Twin, the Angry Drunk Canadian. I'm exporting a video right now. Perhaps you may have heard, or maybe not, because a lot of you are all in the States, so this is like small potatoes to you guys. But there was a mass shooting yesterday.
Yep, I heard about that.
And yeah, I'm that's the source of my video. So it should be up in an hour or two. I'll spread it around.
So are you rendering that right now, or is that just uploading?
Yeah. No. I'm still rendering it. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, fantastic, man. Yeah, that. To be honest with you, I didn't even think about covering that tonight as I came in. And that's my mistake. I apologize to everybody about that because that is, yeah. So, can you give a brief rundown on that real quick for everybody?
Okay. Basically, a dude decided it would be a good idea to take a walk down Danforth Avenue, which is known for all its little shops, restaurants, cafes, and just open fire seemingly randomly into different restaurants and cafes around 10 p.m. yesterday night. So, yes, including him, there's 3 dead and 13 injured.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I know Chicago, New York, and now London will laugh at us for this, but we're really having a rough summer. Like, we're having a rough go of it here in Toronto, man. This is not the norm for us. So, yeah. Tune in. I can't promise it'll be entertaining, but it's somewhat informative.
Well, that's all. It's all about the information, man, and you have a fantastic delivery. So, yeah, I'll definitely check that out, man, as soon as it's up. Let's see, Burnside, brother.
Yeah, am I working?
Yeah, you're there. You sound good.
All right, cool. All right, when I'm not basically confused by trying to figure out what district's what is between TIFs and police departments and what have you, you can find me on YouTube, BitChute, Twitter, Gab, and Redbubble. As far as YouTube and BitChute, within the next few weeks, I should be getting the rest of the backline done. And that'll be Chronicles 6 and maybe 7, depending on how much filming we can get done with the weather. Aside from that, if I can get some spare time between doing a couple things, I should be having some more stuff on Redbubble. Just look up Burnside Film on there. As far as Twitter, Gab, yeah, I know, I've been non-existent on there. I'm getting there. You know, I just got my stupid ROG top all fixed and stuff, so I'm trying to make sure that I don't break the damn thing again. But I'm on Gab as the Burnside Film Project and pretty much everywhere else except Twitter. On Twitter, I'm Burnside_bums. And as far as my videos, if you have any trouble just finding them, just look up Burnside in Kakistan. And that should take you just about straight to the channel and the series.
Burnside in Kakistan.
Yep, no, that's, yeah, I think that's about it for the time being. If I want it running into anything else, I'll let you guys know.
Thanks, man. Let's see. Apologize. And that leaves Scooby.
Hey, you guys know the deal. I'm Scooby331. You can follow me here on Minds. On YouTube, I'm on Minds.com. Gab AI, Patreon and PayPal. Those links are finally working properly, I think, anyway. I've been trying to get them working out for months. And I am still in limited state suspension on Twitter because Jack's a punk. You see, as far
Hashtag free Scooby again.
Thanks, man. As for anything I got coming up right now, I might cut a video this week. I have to see. You know, it all depends. I've been really busy the past week or so. My wife was on vacation last week. I didn't get to cut anything. But while I don't myself have anything coming up, I don't think in the next day or two, if you guys get a chance, there's the young man who's been doing all the artwork for Chaos right now, all of our fan art. His name is Rich at Art. He's in the chat right now. He's on Twitter, I believe. You should definitely check out his work. He did an avatar redesign for me. It kind of looks like biker mice from Mars. It's really sick looking. Yeah,
Cool.
Seriously. The kid does great work, and he's only 15, so I can imagine how good he's going to be by the time he's like 30.
Fuck yeah.
So definitely check out his work.
Sweet.
Like, if I was as good as him now at 36, I'd be happy with myself. Like, you have no idea. This kid's got it. All right.
Excellent,
I went to college for art, and I'm not hit this kid. I'm no way hit this kid.
That's three of us.
No.
Makes good shit, man.
You know that?
Yeah.
6. You, me,
What's
and
that?
Scooby, we all three of us went to school for art.
The
Yep.
same thing too, Irv?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all artists here.
And Burnside, that's 5.
It would-
Burnside's actually got a degree from the Art Institute of Chicago.
We need to change our names to the Art Farts, man. Just saying. It's a good one. All right, and I'll go ahead and wrap it out. Irate Prostate, you know me. I know you. And tomorrow evening, I'll pass by a Red Pill Sharks show and leave my droppings. And then Thursday afternoon, I'll be with Big Fat Brian, and it's True Crime Thursday for Hot Takes, and we're looking at this thing called Staircase. It ended up being 13 hours of a fascinating case that I thought was done a while back, because I remember I'd seen this before, but evidently other shit happened, and so the ending, it now has a conclusion. I'll put it that way. And Friday, of course, Cream Stream, and Drinks with Friends on Saturday, and then ice cream interview with Tim of the Hun. So it should be interesting. She's one of the most intelligently diverse people I've ever met in my life. So with that in mind, people, this is Irate Prostate on behalf of the rest of Chaos 120. Everybody say bye.
Good night.
Take it easy, everybody.
motherfuckers.